DPIIT's Startup India State Startup Ranking results for 2022 have finally been released, and some of the top states are definitely going to surprise you. The idea here is to rate each state and union territory in India based on how well it's able to support a startup ecosystem, so stick around until the end of the video to find out which states rank the highest. But before we get there, I want to talk about Indian spacetech startup Pixxel because they've opened their own satellite and spacecraft manufacturing facility called MegaPixxel in Bengaluru. This facility is where the company is going to be designing, manufacturing, and testing their satellites before they're ready to be launched into space, and at full capacity, this facility can manufacture 40 satellites every single year. Pixxel has already launched 3 satellites in partnership with ISRO and SpaceX, and now they're planning on launching 6 satellites in June of 2024, which is going to be part of their Firefly constellation. By 2025, they're planning on adding another 18 satellites to expand their Firefly network to 24 satellites overall. And so, of course, this MegaPixxel facility is going to play a crucial role in helping them to achieve this goal. And I actually sat down with OS Ahmed last year in 2023 to talk about the story of Pixxel. If you're interested in listening to that podcast, you can find a link to it in the top right corner of your screen. All right, next up in the news, this one is pretty big in the EV category. Ola Electric claims to have become the first Indian electric two-wheeler company to have received the Domestic Value Addition certificate under the Production-Linked Incentive Scheme. So one of the key components for getting this certification was to achieve 50% domestic value addition, which reflects the amount of value added to the domestic manufacturing ecosystem. And so this certificate is now going to allow Ola Electric to avail incentives under the PLI scheme for the next 5 consecutive financial years starting in FY24. These incentives are going to be anywhere between 13% and 18% of their determined sales value, which will give Ola Electric a huge boost over its competitors, especially considering the fact that the likes of Ather Energy will probably not be eligible for this PLI scheme. Why? Well, here's Tarun Mehta explaining the reason.
PLI was just written incorrectly. So the definition was either आपके पास 10 lakh crore का revenue है, which no EV company has ever made, which means only listed large auto players who actually have very little interest in actually doing electric could apply for PLI. Or the only other way you can apply for PLI is if you actually are not manufacturing electric vehicles.
All right, next up in the news, a twist in the ZestMoney story. So it looks like this company, which has been shut down, is now going to be acquired by DMI Finance, the lending arm of the DMI Group. With this acquisition, DMI Finance is going to get exclusive rights to all of ZestMoney's brands, and it's going to become the preferred lending partner of ZestMoney as well. Now, while the details of this acquisition remain under wraps, DMI Finance is going to be gaining access to ZestMoney's 17 million former customers and more than 10,000 merchant partners, which of course is going to strengthen DMI Finance's digital lending portfolio. All right, next up, it is January of 2024, and I don't know how many of you guys realize this, but that means that Backstage with Millionaires is more than 5 years old. We posted our first video on the 1st of January 2019. And the thing about running a YouTube channel, as fun as it is that it can actually be pretty financially challenging, especially as you start to grow and scale that channel and onboard new teammates to increase the quality of this content that you're watching right now. And this applies to pretty much any business. If you're planning on expanding, then you should also expect your expenses to begin expanding as well. And so one of the ways that we've been able to sustain these costs is sponsors. And literally the longest sponsor partner that we've had with us here at Backstage with Millionaires is Jungle Ventures. They have been supporting us now for almost 3 years. And it's not just us. Jungle has been supporting India's startup ecosystem for a pretty long time now too, and they've become a key investor in companies like Book My Show, LiveSpace, and Adamberg. And so to continue in this direction of supporting Indian startups, Jungle has come up with a program called First Check, where they partner up with founders at the early stages of their startup, whether it's idea, pre-seed, or seed stage. And as the name First Check suggests, they actually come in as the first investor, sort of like a founding investor. And the way that they differentiate themselves from programs like Excel Atoms or Surge is that this isn't really a cohort. Their focus is on deep one-on-one partnerships tailored to each founder or the idea that they're investing in. So if this seems interesting to you, and if you're an early stage founder, or even if you're just in the idea stage of starting up, then you should definitely check this program out. I'll be putting a link to it in the description down below, as well as in the top comment too. All right, next up, according to multiple news reports, SoftBank, which had invested $200 million into PB Fintech, the parent company of PolicyBazaa, has now completely exited the company, making a handsome $650 million in the process. This is 3.5x their initial investment, so not a bad ROI. And it's also interesting to note that now that Upstox is profitable, that means that all of the top 5 stockbroking platforms in India are officially profitable, including Grow, Zerodha, Angel One, of course Upstox, and also ICICI Direct. All right, next up in the news, on the 16th of January 2024, India celebrated its 8th National Startup Day, and Startup India also declared the winners of the National Startup Awards 2023. Now, you can find the entire list of the winners in the description down below, but here's a couple of the startups that we found interesting. So first of all, we have Atsuya Technologies, which won the Genesis Innovator of the Year award, and this Gen-I-based startup offers IoT-based intelligent monitoring solutions to help businesses cut down on unnecessary costs while also making their operations more sustainable for the environment. Atsuya's flagship A1 platform collects data from all of the integrated systems in a startup's operations, and then it uses AI models to detect any anomalies in those operations and gives timely real-time updates so that those can be corrected. And then another one of the winners here was Bengaluru-based Breathe Apply Sciences, and they've developed a technology that can convert carbon dioxide into methanol and other sustainable products as well. All right, next up, let's take a look at these state startup rankings by Startup India. So every year, Startup India ranks Indian states and union territories based on the growth of their startup ecosystem and the policies that they're implementing to support startups. Each state and union territory gets evaluated across 7 reform areas, and this year there are 5 states in the top category, which is called Best Performers, and those states are Gujarat, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and Himachal Pradesh. Now, it is worth noting that within this Best Performers category, there are actually 2 tiers, Category A and Category B, and all of the states that I just mentioned, apart from Himachal Pradesh, are in Category A, and Himachal Pradesh is in Category B. But this is really impressive, actually, specifically for Himachal Pradesh, because they were actually way down in the 4th category termed as aspiring leaders last year. And so their growth is really commendable and very evident from these charts where they showcase the rankings with respect to each of the 7 reform areas. So Himachal has managed to outperform most states across all of these reform areas except for Roadmap for Sustainable Future, which basically answers the question, how many startups with rural impact have been supported? And so the answer to that specific question for Himachal Pradesh is just 30 plus compared to Gujarat's 350 plus, so it is significantly lower. But Himachal Pradesh has still come a long way from just 10 incubators in 2021 to more than 25 of them supporting 200 plus startups by the end of 2022. And here's a fun fact too, the only 3 states that have been consistently featured in the best performer category are Gujarat, Karnataka, and Kerala, which have been in this category 4 times in 4 years. And so what that means for these 3 states specifically is that they've been working really hard over a multi-year period to promote entrepreneurship within the state. They've been implementing policies to encourage and strengthen startups, and overall they've just been doing a lot to further their own local startup ecosystem. All right, now let's move into the funding news segment of today's video, because this week Indian startups raised a total of $107.33 million, which is slightly higher than last week's $90 million. Now, looking at some of the companies that raised these funds, first of all, we have Kolkata-based QSR chain Wow Momo. They raised $42 million in their Series D round. After that, we have Bengaluru-based educational stock investment platform StockGrow, which enables first-time stock investors to build their virtual portfolios and learn investment strategies without having to risk any real money. They raised $24.65 million in a debt round. After that, we have Pune-based fintech startup OneCard. They offer credit cards, and they raised $14.43 million also in a debt round. All right, next up, we have Mumbai-based cleantech startup Indra, and they have this proprietary water treatment technology that takes up 60% less space, consumes less energy, and helps to reduce costs by 30% compared to existing wastewater treatment solutions, and they raised $4 million in their Series A round. And then finally, we have Hyderabad-based aerospace components manufacturing startup J Aerospace, and they raised $2.75 million in their seed round. All right, that is all the startup news that I have for you guys this week. Thank you so much for watching, and also big thanks to Jungle Ventures for sponsoring this video, and I will catch you in the next one.